I'm a 17-year-old Hispanic female, but at the time that this happened, I was 14 and this took place in Texas. I had recently gotten out of a mental health hospital and was diagnosed with chronic depression, bulimia, and body dysmorphia. The only way I felt loved or appreciated was by having sex with older men and doing drugs. It was summer and I was about to start high school. I was invited to a party with some of my older friends, Vanessa, Callie, and Jackie. I knew my mom wasn't going to let me go to a party after I got caught having sex with a 20-year-old at my cousin's quinceañera, so I lied and said I was going to spend the night at one of my friends' houses. She let me go, seeing as I hadn't left the house since I got back from the hospital, and even let me stay with my friend for 2 days. I thanked her and went to my room to get my stuff ready. A few hours later, my friend Vanessa picked me up and my mom gave me $45 just in case we went shopping or we wanted to order a pizza or something. As soon as I got in her car, I smelled weed. She smiled at me with low, red eyes and threw me a pack of strawberry swishers and some weed, then told me to roll one for us. I did, and we went to pick up my other friends. After we got Jackie, we went to Callie's house to get dressed and then we were on our way. I was pretty high and didn't realize that we had left town and we were going to Dallas. When we got there, I found it odd that it was just me, my 3 friends, and Jackie's boyfriend, who was 21 and she was 17. I didn't say anything, thinking more people were probably just coming later. At the time, all I had really done in the past was smoke weed and drink. My friends knew that, so they told me I didn't have to do anything else if I wasn't ready. But I wanted so bad to seem cool in front of them and Jackie's boyfriend. Plus, I was getting bored just sitting there drinking while Callie and Vanessa were snorting coke. They told me that they had a dealer that gave them an 8-ball for a pretty cheap price. They called up the guy and said that they can meet up at his place since he was on house arrest. We got into Kwan's car, which is Jackie's boyfriend, since he had a van and we could all fit inside of it. We were on our way and Callie was rolling up another blunt. I got higher than I've ever been in my entire life. They told me that this was the strongest strain they ever had too, and to just relax so nobody would trip out. I was giggling at nothing. My entire body felt like I was vibrating and I felt like we were floating. When we got there, I could barely walk. My legs felt like jello, so Callie helped me walk since she needed help walking too. We knocked and went inside. I think there were around 6 guys, all in their mid-20s. One caught my attention. He looked out of place. He was dressed way better than the other guys and was very attractive. I guess he noticed me too and came up and started talking to me. He asked me what my name was and my age. I told him the truth and his eyes got big. I felt awkward and asked him how old he was. "I'm 24, but don't worry, I'm not a pedo," he said with a chuckle. I didn't care since I had been with 20-year-olds before. I looked over at my friends and they were all laughing and talking to the guy who was on house arrest, but I didn't pay attention. The guy asked me if I wanted to sit down on the couch with him. My legs still felt like jello, so I nodded and sat down. He sat down next to me and said, "I'm Kodak, by the way." I smiled and he scooted closer. I guess he noticed that I was tensing up and he said, "I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable. I just think you a fine little Spanish girl." I felt myself blush and I said, "No, it's okay. I'm not uncomfortable. I'm just really high and I feel like time is going in slow motion." He laughed and I felt stupid for saying that. "Do you want to go to my room and lay down for a sec?" I said sure, not wanting to make a fool out of myself in front of the other guys there. I told my friends I'll be back and they said okay and kept talking and laughing. I was holding on to the wall and he said, "Don't worry, baby girl, I got you," and grabbed me by the waist and took me to his room. I sat on his bed and he sat next to me. I could tell he wanted to kiss me by how close he was to my face and his hand rubbing on my thigh. I really wasn't in the mood for more than kissing, so I just kissed him hoping he would be satisfied with that and let me rest. He stood up and I thought that was it. My eyes were very low, so I didn't notice him taking off his shirt until I heard his belt being undone. I looked up at him and he smiled at me. I couldn't understand what was going on. I wanted to say no, but I couldn't. He took off my pants and got on top of me. He kissed me and was touching me. As soon as he tried unbuttoning my jeans, I screamed. He put his hand over my mouth and my friends were too busy laughing in the living room so nobody heard me. He told me to shut up or he was going to shoot my brains out. I bit his hand and he hit the side of my head with something hard. This is where I blacked out for a few minutes or seconds, I couldn't tell. I woke up only to see him putting on a condom and being almost completely naked. He didn't know I was conscious again and I got up and tried to run, but my underwear was still around my ankles. He saw me get up and tried to run after me, but he was looking for something in the covers. I managed to pull up my underwear and grab my jeans and ran out screaming. My friends were in shock, and the guy who was on house arrest was too. They all paused to look at me, and I told them he tried to rape me. He came out of his room, stumbling over my shoes, wearing only black gym shorts and socks. That's when we all ran for the door and went outside. Quan grabbed his keys out of his pocket and we all jumped in. Callie was the last one to get in, and as soon as she closed the door, we heard 2 gunshots and bolted out of there. I was crying hysterically and they were trying to calm me down. We drove fast, and when we were at a stoplight, something hit us from the back. It was Kodak and his friends with guns out of their black car. They had been following us without their headlights on. I screamed at Quan to hurry, and he did. We swerved and ended up losing them on a busy street. Let's just go back to my house and you girls can go home. I'll switch cars and follow behind you guys just in case, said Quan. I didn't want to argue. I just wanted to go back to Vanessa's house and sleep everything off. We got to his house and Callie, Jackie, and I went into Vanessa's car while he switched cars into an old beat-up black Acura. Quan followed us home and, thankfully, the other guys didn't follow us. We took the long way back to Arlington and took a lot of turns just in case. Quan stayed with us since it was around 2 a.m. and he was tired. We got into Vanessa's house and, being the hippie she is, she made some lavender and chamomile tea. We went to Vanessa's room upstairs so that we wouldn't wake up her parents, and they asked me what happened. I told them everything, and then Quan said, I know why they followed us. We all looked at him as he pulled out what looked like an ounce of cocaine from his hoodie. He had apparently slipped it in his pocket while they all turned around to look at me when I came out screaming. You dumbass, we could have gotten killed, said Jackie. He had just stolen a ton of money's worth of cocaine. That's why they went after us. We got calls and threats for weeks because of that. It eventually stopped when Jackie called and left an anonymous tip to the police and they got arrested. To this day, I haven't told my parents what happened. I still have nightmares about that night.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, man. What the fuck is wrong with people? First of all, this is a fucking 14-year-old girl. And she just and it he just mentioned she just mentioned that she just came out of a mental institution or some shit like that. I don't know, mental hospital. Bro, parents these days, oh my god, bro. So-called parents, fucking that's the way they keep an eye on their children. Like, oh yeah, man. You see, that's what happens when you give your kids way too much freedom. All right, like, bro, God forbid, man. God forbid that these people that didn't fucking make it out alive. God forbid these people got shot to death over some stupid shit like that, and the parents wouldn't know where the fuck their children are. 14. Oh my goodness, man. God help us, man. God help us. God bless America. God bless this entire world, I should say. Ay, man. Dude, that shit was fucking insane, bro. Honestly, if that was me in that situation, I won't lie to you. I'll be panicking so much. No lie, no cap. If I was in that situation, I'll be panicking so much that I probably would end up getting fucking killed because I'll be fucking panicking and not thinking straight because people fucking chasing me and shooting at me. Like, yeah, bro. Like, like, God save, God help us. Seriously. Yo, and they mentioned that this happened in Texas. Yeah, man. Like, it's crazy because a couple of years ago, I used to always think like Texas was more like a country state. Like everywhere in Texas is nothing but just country, like country style, you know. But nope, I actually heard there are some places in Texas that could be very ghetto or you know dangerous. Just saying, you know. Oh man, crazy people, man, crazy fucking people, crazy fucking people. 14, bro. And she mentioned that she got caught having sex with a 20-year-old man at her cousin's party or some shit. Yeah, whatever they said. Yeah, and fucking and now she's gonna fucking have sex with a fucking 24-year-old man, a fucking man that's fucking 10 years older than her, and like you know she's still a minor. All right, and it's funny. They mentioned that her friend was 17 and she had her boyfriend was 21. So I'm guessing the laws in Texas are different. Like I'm guessing a 21 could fucking date a 17-year-old girl. To me, that's kind of weird. To be honest, you know, the girl's still a minor. She's not of age, and to be honest, I think that would still be kind of young for me. Shit, bro. I fucking don't even know if I would even wanna. Yeah, I fucking don't even know if I'll even be comfortable dating a fucking 18-year-old girl. But yeah, if she's like if she's at least in her 20s, then yeah, I'll probably go for it. But that shit's crazy, man. That shit is fucking crazy. So-called parents, please keep an eye on your children and know what goes on with them at all times. Like, yeah, I'm not saying you gotta fucking treat them like they're your pet, but you know, at least you know, be aware of their safety. You know what I'm saying? For fucking situations like that, especially if you know your kid has a history of something they've been through. Like, yeah, bro, you should be fucking always keeping an eye on your kids, no matter what. That shit's fucking crazy, bro. That shit is crazy. Don't worry, I'm not a pedo. Yeah, you're not a pedo, but you're fucking taking off your clothes and taking her clothes off, and she's laying in your bed, and you're fucking getting a condom out. Yeah, fuck that shit. You're a fucking pedo. The fuck? You're a fucking pedo. God help us. Anyway, so the next story is gonna be the last story, and this story I'm about to play is gonna be so crazy. It's actually a true story that happened like almost 11 years ago. So be ready.
This happened to me 4 years ago. It's by far the most extreme and life-threatening situation I've ever been in. I'm not writing this to evoke sympathy or pity. My story is a testament to the grim reality that creepy, demented, and twisted people exist in this world. The eyewitness account you're about to hear is 100% true. For some understanding, this happened in the United States. It was the summer of 2012. My longtime boyfriend and I had recently gotten married. Even though we were dirt poor college students and lived in a dinky apartment, we were having a blast. That particular summer, we gathered with our friends at the local movie theater almost every weekend. Luckily for us, there was one just down the street from our apartment that had really cheap movie tickets. A night out that was under $10 was certainly within our budget. Anyway, one Thursday night, I received a call from this group of friends inviting us to watch the midnight premiere of the newest Batman movie. I had just finished working a 12-hour shift and was pretty tired. I almost refused the invitation and thought of crashing in my apartment instead. However, I didn't want to miss out on the fun, and it was a movie I'd wanted to see for a while anyway. Certainly, it wouldn't do any harm to stay up later than usual and miss a few hours of sleep, right? At 10:30 p.m., we all met at the theater. We passed large cardboard cutouts of Catwoman and Batman as we walked inside, greeted by the smell of buttery popcorn and the chatter of excited moviegoers. The ticket booth was to the right of the entrance, and just above that was an electronic list of movies being played. The 12 a.m. showing of The Dark Knight Rises was displayed up there in bright red letters. Being paranoid that the tickets would sell out quickly, one of my friends swung by earlier that day and purchased tickets for all of us. We bypassed the ticket line and went straight to the ticket taker. She smiled at us and kindly directed us to Theater 9, which was on the right side of the lobby. If only I had known what I do now, that among the crowds a killer was lurking, that as I walked across that tacky red and purple carpet towards Theater 9, I could have been walking to my death. I would have turned around in that instant and gone home. I would have never gone to see the movie at all. But, of course, I had no way of knowing what was about to happen. Oblivious to the peril I was putting myself in, I pushed open the doors for Theater 9 without giving it a second thought. The hallway in this theater was shaped like a U, and you could go either right or left. Theater 9 was the largest screening room in the building, perfect for accommodating the crowds that midnight premieres brought in. The screen was motionless and gray. Not even the previews had started yet because there was still a good hour and a half to go until the movie actually started. We entered on the right side, so all the seats were to the left of us. I remember being surprised at just how packed the theater already was. Just about every seat was filled, much to our dismay. At first, it even seemed like we wouldn't find a spot to sit together. Now, the way this theater was set up, there was a section of seats right in front of the screen. This area was flat, and there were about 5 rows of seating in this section. A lot of the seats in that section were empty, but sitting right in front of the movie screen sucks, and none of us wanted to sit there. One of my friends then spotted a row with 5 empty seats all next to each other, perfect for the amount of people we had. These seats were about 3 or 4 rows up from where the seating rows start to elevate. We ran up the stairs before someone could take the seats and filled in. My husband, Brock, sat in the 5th seat. I sat next to him, and my friend Samantha sat next to me on my right side. Her boyfriend, Tommy, sat next to her, and another friend named Leo sat in the aisle seat. We spent the next several minutes casually chatting, joking around, and laughing. After a while, my 3 friends went to the lobby to buy drinks and that addicting movie theater popcorn. While they were gone, Brock and I passed the time by people watching. The theater was bright since the lights weren't dimmed yet, and I could see everyone clearly. There were a lot of people dressed in Batman t-shirts and hoodies. One person even had a mask and one of those shirts with an attached cape. There were a lot of kids in attendance as well, which wasn't surprising because even though it was a Thursday night, it was summer vacation, so that meant that there was no school the next day. Of all the people I saw, the person I will never forget was the little girl sitting in our same row a few chairs away. She was really cute, blonde with blue eyes, and passed us several times on her way to the lobby, each time coming back with various snacks and popcorn. Overall, people seemed very excited to see the movie, and the room was filled with energy and laughter. After what seemed like an eternity of waiting, the lights started to dim and the previews began. Just like every movie I've seen before, a quick animation flashed across the screen reminding us to get refreshments from the lobby, to silence our cell phones, and to make sure we knew where the emergency exits are. The animation had this ugly CGI cat in a tuxedo that was sitting in a movie theater. I casually glanced at the bright green emergency exit signs that were on the left and right sides of the movie screen. I didn't think much of the reminder like usual. After that, I only remember one preview for The Man of Steel. The others I'm not sure what they were about. When the movie started, the theater erupted into cheering and clapping. The title of the movie, The Dark Knight Rises, exploded onto the screen. This was followed by the scene where Bane is hijacking a plane. I thought this scene was pretty cool and it caught my interest right away. Only when the movie started to get a little less interesting did I remember just how tired I was. I decided I would close my eyes at the more boring parts to get a little bit of rest. I had been awake for 20 hours at that point, so I was rightfully sleepy. My eyes were closed for most of the duration of Batman and Catwoman's encounter. I don't really remember what was going on in that part of the movie. Perhaps some of you have seen it and know what I'm talking about. Anyway, when I opened my eyes again, Bruce Wayne was on his computer digging up information on Catwoman. This is the last scene I saw. I never got to watch the rest of the movie. All of a sudden, a loud bang erupted from the left side of the theater. I sorta screamed a little because it startled me. A strange smell started to fill the auditorium. It was like the smell of a firework, so I thought it was a cherry bomb or something like that. Had someone thrown fireworks into the crowd as a prank? Then, down near the right side of the movie screen, the dark silhouette of a person caught my attention. They were just a black frame against the bright movie screen. A series of flashing lights was coming from this person. It was a weird moment where time literally slowed down and everything went strangely quiet.
I was completely frozen, unable to move, and really unable to think at all. It was like my brain had stopped working entirely. Brock caught on immediately to what was happening and he grabbed me. He pulled me to the ground and lay on top of me, shielding me with his own body. At this point in time, sound returned to me. I could hear the gunshots ringing out across the theater. People were screaming. The movie was still playing on top of it all, creating a chaotic explosion of sound. I realized the flashing lights I had seen were bullets flying out of a gun barrel. An instant sensation of adrenaline flooded my body. There was absolutely nothing I could do except lay there and hope to God that the bullets I heard ripping through seats and walls wouldn't go through me, too. At one point, shrapnel hit my head, cutting off a good chunk of my hair. And as I reached for the spot to make sure it wasn't bleeding, hot pieces of metal fell into my hand. I was lying face up so I could see everything that was happening. The lights from a still-playing movie danced across the ceiling and walls. My friends were on the floor with me. Our unfinished bucket of popcorn was spilled all across the floor. Leo had his legs sticking out into the aisle because there wasn't enough room for him to hide completely behind the seats. At some point, Samantha's water bottle, which had been in a cup holder between our seats, exploded. Water splashed all over my face. The smell of gun smoke was overwhelming. Riot-grade tear gas made me cry and caused me to cough uncontrollably. There was another smell too. The horrible metallic smell of blood that I'll never forget. I remember my lower body feeling wet all of a sudden. For some reason, I thought this came from the leaking water bottle, but I soon realized this wasn't the case. All of a sudden, things went strangely quiet. The bullets had stopped for some reason. Tommy shouted for us to get out of here. We took advantage of the opportunity and made a run for it. We ran down the stairs across the front of the screen towards a bright green exit sign. We crammed into a small closet-like space where the door was. It was so dark we had a hard time finding it. We were screaming and slamming on the walls to find the door, blinded by the tear gas and dumbfounded by shock. Then, finally, my hands felt the metal door handle and I pushed against it with all my strength. The door flew open and the light of a nearby streetlight flooded our eyes. We had pushed against the door so hard that we all fell over onto the concrete. Samantha lost her pink flip-flops just outside this doorway. As I scrambled to my feet and literally ran for my life, I realized my legs were red. They were absolutely soaked with blood. It was like I dipped my legs into a bathtub full of it. I checked my body all over and I realized I wasn't injured at all. Where did this blood come from? I looked behind me and realized that the blood was my husband's. He had been shot in the leg. A massive gaping hole had ripped through the lower half of Brock's right leg. His foot was barely hanging on and dangled lifelessly. Leo and a young man I didn't recognize were carrying Brock because after falling outside the door, he lost all of his strength and couldn't walk. I was completely shocked. I had no idea he had been injured, especially since he was right behind me the whole time and managed to escape the theater all by himself. How he did it on one foot, I'll never know. At this point, I screamed. My scream was so loud that it alerted nearby construction workers. The construction workers were doing road repair on this street, but as soon as they heard my scream and saw us running, they stopped working and watched what was going on. I'm not sure why this is such a vivid part of my memory. Anyway, they carried Brock along the back sidewalk all the way to the end where the corner of the building is. This was quite a distance, several dozen feet. My husband then collapsed from exhaustion and pain, saying he couldn't move anymore. He laid down and a puddle of blood started to form beneath him. I looked back and realized we had left a trail of blood leading from the door all the way to our current position. I was trembling. I knelt beside Brock and glanced around to see who else was injured. Tommy had been shot in the knee and the hip and was further away in the parking lot. The teenager who helped my husband was also injured. His dad and mom were with him. His mom was sitting against the wall and looked like she was going to pass out. She was bleeding from several places. That family escaped at the same time we did. I guess they heard the bullet stop and decided to make a run for it too. We were all lucky because the shooting was still going on inside. I had to take off my shirt and use it to stop the bleeding. I'll never forget how lifeless and limp his leg felt, and I imagine that's what a dead body must feel like. I got blood all over my hands and arms. The police showed up really, really fast. I'd say we were only outside for a minute or two before the red and blue sirens filled the night and rushed to our location. It probably helped that we were literally a block away from the police station. A female officer stood by us the whole time until paramedics arrived, which took a very long time. Brock was one of the last to be taken to a hospital. He was bleeding out for almost 20 minutes before an ambulance pulled up on the same street with the road work. At this point, he had become almost unresponsive and was on the verge of unconsciousness. Several massive guys rushed across the grass with a stretcher, loaded him onto it, and then ran with him back to the waiting ambulance. I wasn't able to go with him because there was another injured person in the ambulance and it was too crowded. I wandered around to the front of the theater alone, unsure of where my friends had went. My blood-stained shirt and a pool of blood were left behind on the corner of that sidewalk. Walking through the crowds felt like a dream. I couldn't believe what just happened. People were in hysterics and crying everywhere. A lot of people, such as me, were covered in blood. And, like me, I'm pretty sure the blood staining their skin and clothes wasn't their own blood. A lot of people seemed to notice how lonely and dazed I looked, so they kept me company and even offered me a ride to different hospitals to find Brock, because I hadn't been told what hospital he was taken to. I hung around these people for a while as police swarmed the area and asked us what we saw inside the theater. The whole parking lot was on lockdown and we weren't going to be allowed to leave anytime soon. It was around 2 a.m., so it was very dark outside still, and I was pretty cold, wearing only an undershirt and shorts. The flashing red and blue lights of what seemed like 100 police cars were blinding. I remember seeing a big police vehicle pull up that said something like, "Crime Scene Investigation Unit" on it. I think that's when it really sank in and hit me. I started to get sick to my stomach and wanted to vomit, but somehow I was able to hold it back. Eventually, police started letting people leave. I jumped into my truck and booked it out of there. I was going 90 or 100 miles per hour through red lights in residential areas without even slowing down. Stupid, I know, but I was desperate to learn the fate of Brock and Tommy. I was in such a panic that I didn't even think to go back to my apartment, grab my cell phone, which I had forgotten, and call my parents or someone to come and help me. I was angry, upset, scared, and most of all, still in a state of shock. Was I really going to lose Brock only a month shy of our first wedding anniversary because of some psychopath with a gun? Thankfully, by the time dawn rolled around, I found the hospital he was treated in. This was in the next city over, maybe 45 minutes from the theater if you're going the speed limit. I was so happy to be there, and the hospital staff were all so welcoming and understanding. After making sure I wasn't injured as well, they let me wait in the ICU room that Brock would be placed in when he was done recovering from surgery. I was so glad that he was alive. Brock and Tommy both had survived, though many others weren't so lucky. I found out the following day, after some much-needed sleep on a hospital couch, that 12 people were killed in this shooting and over 70 were injured. I remember they first thought 15 people were killed, but the real number was 12. The little blonde girl sitting in my row didn't survive. She died in the theater no more than a few feet from us. She had been shot multiple times. A heartbroken police officer who cried during his court testimony tried unsuccessfully to save her by carrying her out of the theater and having her sent to a hospital. Tommy was rushed to a different hospital in the back of a police car. He underwent surgery and made a full recovery. The bullet missed his hip bone and narrowly missed his urinary tract and bladder. According to the surgeons, my husband lost almost half his blood. Brock made it to the hospital just in time. Any later and he would have died. He underwent several blood transfusions and was in the hospital for 21 days. The wound to his leg was severe enough that they had to amputate it after trying unsuccessfully to save it. It's been so long since the shooting happened that my husband, friends, and I have been able to recover from it somewhat. The event was pretty horrifying and left us scarred for sure. I wouldn't consider that part of the story to be creepy though. No, the creepy part is the shooter himself. I later learned much about him from the murder trial that would follow in the coming years. Though my encounter with this man was very brief, he has affected my life greatly. Just to know that people like this exist is disturbing. He's certainly one twisted individual that I never want to see again. I learned everything from watching the televised trial that took place in early 2015. This guy was going to school for neuroscience or something in California. I guess he was a pretty smart guy. However, for some reason, he had an obsession with killing people and had a stalker mentality. After dropping out of his university, he moved to my state and chose my local theater to commit a mass shooting. Before that, he was planning on hiding along remote hiking trails up in the mountains, jumping people, pulling them into the woods and killing them there. Though he never went through with that idea. He stalked my theater for months and had this shooting all planned out for the night of July 20th. Though I never saw him before this, it's unnerving to think that this guy could have been watching us every time we went to the theater, and we would have never known it. We were completely unaware of what he had planned against us. This completely ruined my sense of security because who knows what the stranger next to you is planning on doing to you. I came very close to the shooter, but I never actually saw his face in person until I was forced to testify in court. Of course, I saw his mugshots on television, but while in the theater, I only saw him as a dark silhouette in the shadows, like a demonic figure rendered from the darkest and most sinister nightmare. He was even in the hallway that we passed upon running for the emergency exit. The only thing stopping him from killing us then and there was his jammed assault rifle. To commit this crime, he ordered a few thousand rounds of ammunition, riot gear and armor, tear gas, an assault rifle, and a shotgun. He took pictures of himself, which were shown in court, wearing all of his gear like some sick trophy and holding up these weapons with a menacing smile. He dyed his hair orange and put in these creepy black contacts while making devilish faces into the camera. Something that made me sick just looking at. Before driving to the theater with all this gear in his car, he booby-trapped his entire apartment and set it to explode if anyone opened the door. Then, once at the theater, he posed as a moviegoer and even bought a ticket for the movie. I think his ticket had Theater 8 on it, which was next door, but Theater 9 had more people in it, so he went into number 9 instead. He was in the few front rows. I must have passed him several times in the lobby while he was there. Maybe he had seen me too. At some point during the movie, he got up and went through the side exit, which didn't have an alarm for some reason, kept it propped open with something, then went to his car to put on all of his armor and grabbed his weapons. Then he came back inside and started shooting. When we escaped the theater, we ran past his white car, which was parked right at the exit. We didn't even notice it. At some point, he came outside and he would have seen us there on the concrete. I don't know what stopped him from shooting people that were outside too, but he could have easily ended us there and then if he wanted to. I think the hardest part for me was facing this twisted individual in court. I'll never forget rising as they called my name, walking down the center row past my family, other survivors, and crowds of news-hungry media personnel. I sat right across from him, maybe only 10 feet away. While his orange hair was gone and he wasn't wearing any black contacts, being so close to him was a creepy and uncomfortable experience. My encounters with this man are certainly ones I will never forget. I can now say that I've come face to face with a true, deranged psychopath. He just had this blank stare in his eyes the whole time. If eyes truly are the windows to the soul, then his soul was filled with nothing but a cold indifference for those he had murdered and harmed. He wouldn't even look at me. Sitting across from him in court was the second time I had knowingly been in the same room with this man. A man who tried to take my life, but thankfully failed. A man who would end up spending forever behind bars when, at the end of it all, he was sentenced to 3,318 years in prison for his crimes. This is to the man who tried to kill me. The man who has caused countless nightmares and fueled the fires of my paranoia. The man who hurt my friends and family, causing years of untold grief for my husband because he will never walk the same again. The man who stole the innocence and joy from a 6-year-old child who went into that theater alive and came out dead. To the man who carried out the worst mass shooting in Colorado history. I hope we never meet again. Ever. I hope you rot in prison.
Okay. And that was it. That was all the stories I listened to and reacted to. Well, I'm now gonna react to this last story I played. Oh, jeez. Oh my goodness. I mean, like I said in the beginning, before I started that story. It's actually a true story that happened back in July of 2012. Yeah, July 20th, 2012 is when that situation happened. It happened somewhere in Colorado. It happened at a movie theater. Yep, this guy was a psychopath. He was going to school in California. Then he somehow ended up in Colorado, and he was stuck in this movie theater for months. And now all of a sudden he planned on shooting up the movie theater, killing people and hurting people, and yeah, that's just fucking crazy, man. And yo, you know what's funny? Believe it or not, I was actually talking about that earlier. Well, not earlier, but like yeah, well, like yesterday. Yeah, I was talking about that with my family. And funny fact, they mentioned to me that when that happened, when that story happened, yeah, with the shooting in Colorado at the movie theater, yeah, like that. During that time, me and my family, we was actually vacationing in Pennsylvania. Yeah, we was at the Poconos in Pennsylvania. Yeah, we was actually vacationing that time when that shooting happened. That's crazy. And my family told me that like they were actually talking about that time, and yeah, they were actually talking about it while we was there vacationing. And it's funny because I don't even like remember them like talking about it. I don't remember hearing them talk about it. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. So and funny fact, I actually never knew about that shooting. Yeah, that story. I never knew about it until I heard this story by Corp's husband. Yeah, when he uploaded the video, that's when I first knew about that's when I first knew about it. And at first I didn't know if it was a true story or not. But yeah, eventually I found out. I did some researching and it turns out it's true. That story actually happened. That shooting at the Colorado movie theater. Yeah, that it's actually a true story. It actually happened. So yeah, at the time, yeah, at the time when that happened, I was actually 14 years old. Yeah, like I said, during that time, I was vacationing with my family at the Poconos in Pennsylvania. Yeah, we was at a hotel resort at this place called Great Wolf Lodge. Yeah, maybe some of you are familiar with that. Yeah, so during the time we was at that place, at Great Wolf Lodge, the hotel resort at the Poconos in Pennsylvania when that shooting in Colorado happened. Yeah, that's crazy. That is fucking crazy, man. People, yep. Unfortunately, people like that exist in this world. People that are extremely psychotic, mentally sick, and super super fucked up in the head. People like that exist in this world. Unfortunately, that shit's crazy. But all I gotta say is just cherish every day of every moment you have in your life because you never know, man. You just never know when it's gonna be your last day alive. You just never know. All right, people do things like that so random and so unexpected. Yeah, I thank God every day that I never end up in situations like that. I'm not saying it can't happen, but you know, all those times I go out to public places, I just pray to God that I'm safe and nothing like that doesn't happen. So I continue to pray to God that nothing like that ever happens. Not to me, not to anyone else. Yeah, that shit's fucking crazy. Yep, yep. So yeah, I guess that's all I could really say. And to those people that that did not survive, you know, at that movie theater, then hey, you know, may they rest in peace. Man, yeah, I've actually heard a lot of stories about shootings. There was another shooting that happened somewhere in Connecticut, Yeah, it also happened in 2012. Yeah, there was like a school shooting in Connecticut. Yeah, and this person killed so many people in the school, and I think he killed himself as well. Like, damn, what the fuck is wrong with people? Why people got to be extremely psychotic and mentally sick? Why? Like, how the fuck do people end up like that? I don't know. I really don't know how people end up like that. But hey, all we could do is just pray. No, that's all we could do is just pray that that things like that don't happen. Because it's fucking crazy how things like that just happen so random and so unexpected. Like I said before. Yeah, man. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. So yeah, that's it. I'm pretty much done. Yeah, I'm actually feeling a little bit tired right now. Yeah, it's already morning. So alrighty. So that's all I'm gonna say as of right now. Thank you to whoever was watching this, and you guys made it all the way into the end of this video. Thank you. I appreciate it. Like, comment, and subscribe, and yeah, we will stay in touch, and I will talk to you later. Maybe in the future, I'll probably react to more stories by Corpse Husband. So yeah, he's one of my favorite YouTubers. In terms with like people telling horror stories, and they like them to narrate for other people. Yeah, like people he tells the stories as if it happened to him, but really people send him emails of stories, and like, once again, he tells the story as if it happened to him. So yep, good work. So alrighty, that'll be all. So yep, like, comment, subscribe, and stay safe. God bless, and yeah, man, just make the best of. Just count your blessings. That's all that matters. So alrighty, I will see you guys later. All right, peace.